Good evening, everyone. That beautiful tune and the dance for it is called the Sierra. Composer is Rebecca King, and the choreographer is our guest tonight, Alisa Dodson. The artist playing was Rebecca King. The CD that it's on is Nearer and Farther, and you can buy it from Rebecca. We are posting a link for that now. I am Darlene Hamilton, and we are the Historical Tea and Dance Society. Thank you for joining us. On our team, we have Lindsay Verbal. She's assisting with program and handling media and our attendee questions. And on Zoom, we have Reed Wilson, and he's monitoring in the background for those questions and doing the postings. Oops, where'd he go? Oh, I like that, Reed. Well, you can tell who the clown on our team is, but he's got tough competition too. Thank you, Reed. And then on Facebook Live, we have Larry Hansen, and he is also watching for those questions and posting all the different links. You want to find out where the chat box is, because he and Reed are both posting links and credits for things, and all sorts of fun conversation goes on in those chat boxes. And anytime there's something comes up, a comment about what the guest is talking about, you can believe that people are commenting in that box. So make sure you know where that is, because it's a lot of fun. And don't be shy about asking questions, because we do collect them all. And if we don't get to them here in this talk, we will get to them in the after talk, which is also really great, where you get to ask Elise one-on-one. And so that will be a lot of fun to join in on. We do post a link for that right here in the chat box and on our friends page. And if you registered for it, you will also have gotten that in the email. So join us in the after chat, in the after talk, and we will have a lot of fun there. Thank you to Karen Axelrod and her friends, her fabulous musical friends, in the Moment concert every Tuesday live on Facebook. It's amazing. Thank you, thank you. And we'll be bringing some breaking news to you at the end of this about something that was on. So you'll want to stick around for the very end when you find out more about what's coming up. I'm going to go into a bio about Alisa Dodson. She started dancing English country in 1980, and calling 10 years later, she's taught dance in California and the Midwest and New England, and called many balls, including the Brattleboro Ball, the Mayfair Ball, the Bay Area Country Dance Society's Playford Ball, and maybe a few others. I'm not sure if I missed one there. She has taught at dance weeks, that's it, and weekends at Pinewoods, Mendocino, and Buffalo Gap. She danced with Mayfield Morris and Sword for many years, and created and choreographed Morris dances and mummers plays. Alisa has been an event organizer everywhere she's moved, and served not only on the board of the Bay Area Country Dance Society, but spent 12 years on the Country Dance and Song Society's governing board. Currently, she's the manager of the English Dance Week Heydays, and you know I have a lot of respect for her because I know what it's like to organize things. Please welcome the fabulous Alisa Dodson. Hi.
Whoops. I came and I disappeared.
Oh, hi, we're so glad you're with us. We're going to jump right in because I know you have a lot to say to us. I'm looking forward to it. So, thing one, piano or dance?
So when I was 5 years old, I was living in Southern California in San Gabriel. My mother came to me and she said, "Would you like to take piano lessons or dancing lessons?" And I didn't have an answer. My mother played piano, but just popular songs and things. Nobody danced. And what came out of my mouth was dancing lessons. So that set the course, didn't it? She started me at a couple of dance studios, and I was in my first recital when I was 6.5. And I've got a picture of me in my costume on my front lawn. Yep. There we go. After that, in about when I was about 9, I was taking lessons from the Birch Holzman Dance Studio. And we noticed that there were a lot of these extra people coming to take lessons along with us that we'd never seen before. And we did a show, and we were told that the show was for county people, but word got around that it had something to do with Walt Disney. We didn't know what. And my family was moving south to Orange County. So I didn't think much about it. My mother took me to my last dance lesson there. And as we're driving away, she said, well, she said, that was an audition for the Mickey Mouse Club. And I talked to Birch, and she said, you passed that audition, and you probably would have passed the next one. Excuse me. And so we talked a lot about whether we'd let you go away from us or not, because I couldn't live in Orange County and still do the Mickey Mouse Club show. So eventually my parents decided that they didn't want me to live somewhere else, and they didn't want me to have that particular life. And so they decided against it. So, you know, oh, well, I could have been a Mouseketeer. Who knows? I did find out later that Birch Holzman actually did the choreography for the first several years of the Mickey Mouse Club. So she said, I would have made it. I would have made it. So there. We moved to Orange County, and we found another dance studio. And I have a picture of me there in 1957 doing a tap recital. It's a picture from the recital. So that was a lot of fun. I loved tap dancing. I really did. And I went to Costa Mesa High School. And across from Costa Mesa High School is a junior college, Orange Coast College. And they did summer stock. They did musicals. And here's me. I was dancing for the unsinkable Molly Brown, and I'm up at the stage door. The most fun thing for a high school kid to do, for sure. Let's see what else. Oh, yes. Then I left home. I went to Fresno State University. I could do lots of dancing there. I could take classes in PE. They did musicals, and we could dance in those. And there was a dance club called Orchesis, and it did its own recitals. I got to do a little choreography. And we've got a photo of an Orchesis picture. We did a suite to West Side Story tunes. I didn't choreograph this. The person who, I'm over there on the right, and the person who choreographed it is the person who's holding me up in the lift. His name was Carl Murray. So that was like in 1968. I graduated from Fresno with a BA degree in English literature. My parents were sure I was going to go be a teacher, but I didn't. I decided I was interested in dance. So I went to graduate school at UCLA for 1 quarter. That's all I made it there. I discovered that I was not going to be a performer in any kind of professional dance world. My body does not work that way, and it doesn't look that way. So I talked to my advisor, and she said, well, you know, you could go into dance history and maybe into folk dance of some sort. And I thought, that sounds boring. So I quit. Oh, well, you know. So I went back to Fresno. I did choreograph a musical for Fresno Community Theater. It was MAME. And after that, I got married. I had kids, no more dancing. Moved to the Bay Area. And instead of dancing, I started singing in the California Bach Society. I did that for, I suppose, over 10 years. But a person that I knew in the Bach Society was one David Means. And he kept talking about English country dancing. And he said a colleague of his at work taught English country dancing in San Jose, and perhaps we should go check that out. And that's thing number 1.
Okay, moving on to thing
Short
number
and sweet.
2. Moving on to thing number 2. Finding my tribe.
So my girlfriend Kathy and I went to the San Jose English Country Dance, and David's colleague was Bruce Hamilton. And I loved going. It was a little weird, but after a while you get used to it. And we started coming back every dance. And we also started going to other dances. They began contra dancing some and doing some Scottish dancing. And there were three major things around that time that really opened up my world to dance. And one of them was going to a week-long dance camp at Mendocino. I had gone to a weekend that seemed to be okay. So at Mendocino, in the Mendocino Redwoods, I was totally and absolutely blown away by the week. I could not believe it. I loved the area that it was in. There was an enormous sense of community. I felt that I definitely belonged with everybody. The English country dance teacher was Christine Helwig, and she, on the first day, she stood up on the stage in the little rustic room there, and she said, "This week we are going to be elegant." And we were. It was lovely. The song person was Jeff Warner, and I enjoyed that. But what I especially enjoyed was one evening, we were told that after the dance, we should get some warm jackets and things, and we should go down to the amphitheater. And the amphitheater wasn't a place where we had classes, but when we went down there, there was this enormous bonfire, beautiful bonfire. And Jeff was sitting down there, and we sang some songs, and it was kind of quiet, and we heard some music in the distance. And very slowly in came the Abbott's Bromley horn dancers, not the actual ones, of course, but anyway, the horn dance. And the dancers were on the other side of this enormous bonfire, so we couldn't see who was dancing. We could see the horns. We could kind of see a hobby horse. We watched them dance. And as they left, they turned around, they went back up the trail, and it was so quiet. We listened all the way until the fiddle was done playing. You could not hear a thing except the crackling of the fire. That was it. And then Jeff says, well, he picks up a psaltery. He says, let's sing some more. I was just, that was amazing. I couldn't quit talking about it. I still get chills when I talk about it. The other thing I really enjoyed was it was my first brush with Morris dancing. I believe I took a beginning class, and I loved watching the advanced class. Jean Murrow was teaching that. And at the last day at Mendocino, everybody goes into the meadow. There's a maypole, you do Salinger's round. And the Morris dancers start dancing, and somebody runs out in the field and says, okay, 6 up for Fieldtown step back. And a bunch of people go running out in the field and they do this dance. I thought, how do they know? How do they know that's what they're supposed to do? And they also did a drunks march, which involves beer and dancing. I like that too. And I went away from Mendocino thinking, I want to be a Morris dancer. I have a photo of a later year in the meadow. This is 19, can't find my thing, doesn't matter. In 1987, I think. This is Jenny Scheimer that's there in the meadow. And there was a tradition that when you were teaching at Mendocino for the first time, you got picked up and put down in the little stream that's at the edge of the meadow. Well, but this is Jenny Scheimer. They weren't going to do that to her. So Alistair Brown there is handing her some wildflowers, weeds or whatever in the water from the stream. And what he didn't know was that Patty Whitehurst was going to dump water on him. And the person jumping down, up and down there is Edith Farrar. So I love those. I love those kind of antics. I do. The second thing that came into my life was I did become a Morris dancer. And this came about in 1985. Again, I was at a San Jose Wednesday evening dance, and it was May 1st. So Berkeley Morris came and danced for us. Now I had thought about maybe I should go join Berkeley Morris. It was the only place I could Morris dance, but it was, over an hour away from me. So I hadn't done that yet. And after they danced, I met somebody I hadn't met before who had moved to California. Her name was Jodie Mcgee. And she had moved from New York, where she was calling English country dance. She was also a co-foreman of Ring a Bells Morris, along with Beverly Francis. And so she moved to California. She watched the dancing, and she came over and met us, and she said, "Would you like to join a women's Morris team?" "Oh, yes, I would like to join a women's Morris team." And that is where Mayfield, Morris, and Sword began. That was an especially great thing for me because, first of all, English country dance is social, and I was used to performing. Well, in Morris dance, you could kind of perform. People are watching you, you know? And I have a picture of me dancing in a Mayfield gig. I'm doing English clog. And I love doing English clog because, of course, that related to all the tap dancing that I had done. So that was a lot of fun. Another thing was that none of us had Morris danced very much before when the team started, but we almost all of us did English country dancing. So there we are at a BACDS Playford Ball, Mayfield, Morris, and Sword. Jodie is in the pink Baroque dress there. I'm in the orange. Those dresses came from the New York Costume Archive because Jodie and I did a Baroque dance at the break at the ball. And we had to give them back. But anyway, so every year we took a picture like this of Mayfield at the ball. The third thing was that when she started the team, Jodie said, "We are going to dance well. Being social, being fun, that's fine. We're going to dance well." And we did. We worked very hard. I have a photograph of us dancing in the meadow at Mendocino. I don't know what dance we were doing, but it was definitely Litchfield tradition. And I'm in the back there somewhere. And yeah, I think that's a great picture of Morris dancing myself. And it was lovely to be there in the meadow doing it. I also have a video of us dancing sometime later. This is in 1999. This is at the Marlborough Morris Sale. We are doing a dance in the Litchfield tradition that I wrote called Page's Mill. The chorus I adapted from a workshop that Roy Dommett taught when he came to the West Coast. And so we're going to show not all of the dance, but some of it. The chorus is long, hang in there, okay? So. There we go. So, love dancing with Mayfield. And And also later, I was able to dance with some other teams in the Bay Area. There was Bufflehead Clog Morris, and there was also the Dead Ringers, which I'm not going to talk about, but ask me about them in the after talk, because I love the Dead Ringers, and they're still dancing. So the third thing that happened to me was I went to Pinewoods, and I just sort of, the world just went even wider. One thing about going to Pinewoods, it was 1987, there was no internet. So if you want to learn something, you have to go somewhere and learn something, and Pinewoods was a place that everybody went. And so I got to do lots of English country dancing, lots more ritual dancing, sword and Morris and clog. I remember I would take Helena Cornelius's morning advanced class, and then I would take a dance home to California and see if I could get people to put it on the Playford Ball program. I was successful sometimes. That was fun. The other thing at Pinewoods was that I met so many people, and I was in a position at the time that I was able to travel. So I would go visit all these people that I had met and go to their ball and what their dance was like. And I discovered so many things at that time. I'm not sure what I was going to say next. I do know that when Alan and I actually left California for a period of time, about 12 years. And during that time, we lived in all kinds of places. We lived in Colorado and Ohio and Michigan and Western Massachusetts. And I had a chance to even meet more people and go places like on Ken McFarland's trips, George Marshall's trips to St. Croix. It was just a really big opening up. And it seemed like everywhere I went, I knew people, and that's because of Pinewoods. I got to dance with teams elsewhere too. There was a Boar's Tooth Sword team in Michigan, and then in Massachusetts with Guiding Star, Clog Morris, and with Marlborough Morrison Sword. So that was a great thing. And I think that is the end of thing, whatever that was, 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That was great. I definitely have a lot of things I want to talk to you about in the after talk. Thing 3, adding my voice.
Yeah.
Love this one.
So after I was given so much and absorbed so much, I mean, it's the next thing that you do is you start becoming involved in planning things, and you can only be blown away at Mendocino once. Then you have the chance to be on committees and plan to blow other people away, and that's fun. I think the first thing that I really enjoyed doing, I like silliness. I loved all the things that happened at Morris Ales and camps. When I was working for the welfare department, I wrote skits. And when I was singing with the California Bach Society, I wrote skits. So it follows that I love skit night. I always tried to do something on skit night. And I want to tell you a story about one of the skits. The scene was that there were some madrigal singers looking for a soprano. Susie Lauren, you were in this, but I don't remember who else. And I came in as a dog, and I wanted to sing soprano. And so reluctantly, this group of people let me sing with them, and I howled soprano in this lovely madrigal. And at the end of skit night, when everybody's getting up and leaving, Jim Morrison came up to me and he said, there's always going to be room at Pinewoods for somebody like you who isn't afraid to make a fool out of themselves. So I could have been really embarrassing, but I took it as a compliment. I still do. So I really enjoy having fun. Another way I began to give back is I began calling. This began for me in 88, 89. We were doing a New Voices night in San Jose. I had no ambitions to be a caller, none. I thought it looked very scary, but I thought I would call a dance at New Voices. So I called the Black Nag, And sometime after that, I was approached at different times, both by Bruce and by Jodie, saying, you know, I think maybe you should call and I'd be glad to work with you. I went to Pinewoods, excuse me, went to Pinewoods English Week that year and got a phone call from Jodie on the payphone there. And she said, okay, you need to call. I want to help you. Bruce wants to help you. Who do you want to work with? I mean, talk about riches. Come on. So I said, both of you at different times. And that's what I did. That was what my apprenticeship was. I worked with Jodie at the San Jose dance, which she, by that time, was the leader of. And then the next year, I worked with Bruce in a small class that Jenny Beer was in and Anna Sveldman. After all that, I started calling other places in the Bay Area, and I haven't stopped. I think everywhere I've gone. And when we left California, I had the lovely opportunity to call in some other communities, Ann Arbor for one, and in Amherst. And I loved doing that. So another thing that I did is I began joining committees. And I want to talk about 4 different things that I was able to do. I'm going to take a drink here. My voice is going away. Yeah, 4 different committees. And the first one was the Playford Ball Committee. I joined the committee at a time when they wanted the ball to become more elegant. And I had started collecting Victorian glass. This is like 1880s, 1890s. And I had a pretty good collection by that time. So I began bringing my glass to the ball, and that's what we served the food on. And the food became very elegant. It was like 1 to 3 bite-sized finger food. And we also not only brought a punch bowl for punches, but we also brought punch cups, and we drank out of punch cups. And here is a picture of the punch bowls and punch cups from, this is a later picture. And then there's another one of another year that shows the, yeah, this is in the San Jose Women's Club, awaiting the dancers to come in and have food. And sometime after we started using the glass, I was at a fall weekend and I was making punch for the afternoon dance, for refreshments after the afternoon dance. And I just said kind of casually, gee, we should call this punch Mr. Maggot's beverage. Ha ha ha, Lisa, that's very funny. And then I was like, a light bulb went off, huge light bulb. Oh, we could name all of the food after the Playford ball dances. I was so excited. We went into, there's a room off of the dorms, it's common room. I know I was in there. I don't know who else, Bill Jensen was in there. We were making puns on the dance names for the food. And we started doing that year, and that has not stopped. Even when we left California, when we came back, yep, there's one, Quiche be with you. Yep, and the other one is the Sapphire Brie. When I came back, the glass was still being used. There were punch bowls and punch cups, and there were still silly names, and even some of the same foods I remembered from when I had left. So that's very gratifying. I know that New York did this too. I believe that was you, Sharon Green, who took it there. I don't know if New York still does it. So there we go. Second thing that I got to work with, I was asked to be on the CDSS board. Now that is a big board that meets once a year, maybe 21 people. And I actually am quite an introvert in that kind of situation. So I was not going to be the one looking at all this board with a lot of my dance heroes on it. I was not going to raise my hand and ask any questions or say anything. I had to figure out where I was going to fit, how I was going to contribute. I mean, I was on some ad hoc committees and things, but in my second, I was there 6 years as a member at large, and then another 6 years as a secretary. So being the secretary was one thing I could do to contribute. And I also volunteered to go on the executive committee because that met more often, smaller group of people. And that served me very well. And at that time, the executive committee was meeting in the East, maybe DC, maybe New Jersey, places like that. And every year at the annual general meeting, at the end, we'd say, okay, where's the exec going to go this time? And I would always say Berkeley, because that's where I lived. And everybody would laugh at me. And maybe after the third year of doing that, we went to Berkeley. The exec went to Berkeley, to my 850 square foot condo. I remember Curtis Hoberman wanted to know if he had to wear flowers in his hair because he was flying into San Francisco. That really was where the traveling executive committee was born. I have a picture of a later year in Arkansas of the exec at Mount Nebo. So you might want to take a look at those faces. Some of you recognize yourselves, perhaps. So it was a lot of fun doing that. So the third thing, committee I want to talk about is Mendocino. I joined the Mendocino Committee at a time when they needed people. And I served for several years before we left California. I got my first experience in programming a dance camp, programming Mendocino, because a programmer was needed and I wasn't ready, but I did it anyway. And when we left California and we joined the committee again before we came back, because the camp was moving from the Mendocino Woodlands to Bishop's Ranch. And they asked us if we would be willing to do the bookstore and the auction for several years. And we said, okay, we'll do that. So for at least 1 year, we collected all the CDSS materials in Massachusetts and drove them cross country to Bishop's Ranch and, did the bookstore, and then we drove them home again. And then we moved back to California. So that it was really a fun thing. We had to change the name of the camp, right? Because we weren't at Mendocino anymore. So Heydays was a long process, but we didn't want to name it after anything about Bishop's Ranch, because what if we had to move again? And thank goodness, because 8 years, we've moved again. And we have moved to Sonoma State University, and we're still Heydays. So that's been that experience. And my first gig as a dance week manager too. Yes. So.
Yeah, we are going to ask a question here. Lindsay, go ahead.
Yes, the question is from our survey, and it's from Lucia Coulter. Lucia asks, please tell us what it has been like adjusting to all the unknowns in planning Heydays.
I'm going to speak from my experience in Heydays moving to Sonoma State. The big thing about that is that it's a venue like none other we'd ever been at before, because we are no longer the only game in town. We are not the only people there. And their business is not to provide a summer camp. Their business is to run a university, and we have to fit into what they're doing. What we learned is that we tried to ask the right questions, and we thought we were getting good answers. I mean, we on both sides, we thought we were, and then found out that, oh no, that isn't what I meant. Oh no, that isn't what I meant. I'll give you an example. We used a building called the Cooperage. It had 3 rooms, 2 outside rooms, nice bright rooms, and then a middle room. And they were divided by these accordion doors that you could pull open and closed. And we thought, yay, we can have the bookstore over here. We can have the musicians over here. And we can have all the, the gathering and the auction and everything in the middle. And when we have class, we can close the doors. And we don't have class, we can open the doors. So when we got there, the doors were open. And somebody came in and said, okay, do you want these doors open or closed for the week? And we said, we want to move them ourselves during the week. Oh no, you can't do that. I'm sorry, they're very, very finicky, and we are the only people who can move them, and they're going to be open and closed for the whole week. So we ended up with the closed doors, and the middle part had to put the lights on, right? No outside lighting except from the back. So it's a matter of, we asked a question, yeah, you can move those, but only once. We didn't say, can we move them every day? So those are the kinds of things that we ran into. I could talk more about it in the after talk if we want. So let's see. Oh, the fourth committee that I served on, I was in Western Massachusetts. We went to the Brattleboro Ball frequently. And as it turned out, the people running the ball, Fred Brunig and the Marlboro Morris women who did all the wonderful refreshments, it was time for them to stop, and the ball was going to stop. So a little committee of 4 of us, it was Alan and I, Mary Lee, and Dan Popovich, decided that we wanted to talk to Fred and see if we could ourselves keep the ball going. So we did that, and it was an interesting thing in trying to keep the flavor of that ball, making sure it was a repertoire of older dances with a few new ones. We added a few things, but it still stayed a repertoire of older dances. It was a talk through only ball. We kept that there. We kept the elegant refreshments that the Morris women had done before us. And we kept Fred's hat. Fred had a top hat. And everybody would be busy talking on the floor. And when they were supposed to be quiet because he was going to speak, he put on his top hat. So we kept that. And we always had a hat that we could put on. So that was a really interesting experience of changing something but not changing it. Yeah. So I have learned some things, I think, from all of this. I kind of sat down and wrote down things that I think, and I will tell you what they are. One of them is to find where you can be of most use on a committee. Sometimes you have financial background, they need a financial person, great, you're in, that's it. But like me on the CDSS board, where am I going to do? What am I going to do to contribute? Yeah, I guess that's it, contribute to this committee and this thing. Park your ego outside, keep an open mind, and it's really hard to do, but don't take anything at all personally, at all. Hard one. I like coming to consensus rather than voting, but it takes a long time to come to consensus. So sometimes you do have to vote. And then once you do that, everybody's got to be in on, okay, that's what we voted and that's what we're going to do. I like small committees rather than large ones. I think it's a great idea to have volunteers do some of your work that don't have to come to committee meetings every single time you have one. When it's not fun anymore, stop, just quit. You are not the only one holding everything together. And if you are, it might be time for the event to stop, or maybe somebody else will come in and revive it again. It's great to have younger people, new blood on a committee, but if the old folks hold on forever, where is there going to be room for the new thoughts? So that's what I have figured out. And it's my story and I'm sticking to it. So we're ready for, I guess, thing 4.
I love it. That was great. I'm looking forward to talking more about that. Thing 4.
Yeah.
Mom, word.
Mum's the word. So this is a particular interest of mine, is Mummer's Place. In 1987, I took a class from Alistair Brown about Mummer's Place, and we learned a little bit of history. We read some plays, and then we made up our own, and we did them in the meadow. And that same year, Jodie, who was programming our fall weekend, wanted me to teach a weekend Mummer's workshop. Wow, wait a minute, I just took this one workshop. I don't know anything. But she gave me some people to contact, and I wrote letters, no internet at that time, and learned some things from people. And so I taught that workshop. Mummer's Plays, a lot of you will know what they are, but maybe some of you don't. They are not plays. They are not theatrical. They are seasonal kinds of things. And There's been a lot of research done on them beginning of the 20th century. There's lots of argument about, well, where did they start? When did they start? What influenced them? What did they influence? So it's one of those things. Usually in the most common kind of play, you've got a hero and he's got a bunch of people that come to fight him and somebody kills him. And there's a doctor who's a comic character who comes in and tries to cure him all kinds of weird ways. And either the doctor cures him or a fool or somebody comes in and the dead hero is resurrected and the play ends. And so you've got death and resurrection, you've got winter into spring, all of those symbolic things in these plays. And they are wonderfully adaptable to current events. So that's always fun. So when I did the workshop, I wrote a play for it. I wrote a St. George and the Dragon play. And actually in the old plays, there was not a dragon he was referred to, but you didn't see him in the play. But we had a dragon. And everybody just did the play holding scripts at the weekend. Well, the community didn't want to let go of that play. So we started doing it at Christmas time and we adapted it so that anybody who wanted to in the dance community could be in the play that year. And we'd put them in whatever part they wanted, or we'd add a part or whatever. And we did them in people's houses. We did them in my house for a long time. The Mayfield sword team put a dance in there. And so that's how the hero got killed, with the sword lock. And we always did them in downtown Palo Alto, right off of University Avenue. We never asked permission. We just went and did it every year. I don't know if you'd still be able to get away with that. But we also always did them at a children's bookstore in Los Altos. And this is a picture of our Mummers play with some of the characters out there. You can see our dragon. He was supposed to be fierce. He's kind of funny. He does kill a giant in our play. He does it by striking him out because he's a San Francisco giant, of course. So we did the play for lots of years. I absolutely love doing that. And I think, yeah. Okay, so later I wanted to do a week-long workshop. I think I probably hired myself when I was programming Mendocino, but I needed to do more research. So I went to the library and found books and read them. And I found someone who did a lot of research, who was on Cecil Sharp's original demonstration team. His name was Reginald John Elliott Titty. And he lived in the town of Ascot under Wychwood, which is very exciting to me because that was the second Morris tradition that Mayfield did. He gave money for a village hall to be built in Ascot. And he wrote this book that had a lot of plays in it that he had written, put the text of many plays that he had researched. And it was published posthumously because he died in World War I. So in 1995, Mayfield went to England and we visited in Ascot, of course, because we wanted to dance our tradition there. And after one of our dancing gigs, some people went to the pub and the rest of us were standing around. This lovely lady comes up and she says, "Would you like to go see Titty Hall?" Oh, yes, I want to see Titty Hall. And I knew that the old hall had been torn down. It was falling down and they had built a new one. And so we went and saw Titty Hall and we were looking at the different historical information in there. And the lovely lady says, "Would you like to dance?" Oh boy, we didn't have our bells. We didn't have any instruments. We didn't have our hankies and we had no cameras. But yes, we would like to dance. So my husband, Alan, and Annis Feldman stood at the top of the set and sang, and the rest of us danced. And the dance we did was one I wrote in the Ascot tradition called Straight A's. And for me, it was just almost a spiritual experience, being there in this hall, this man I'd been reading all about, and continuing the Ascot tradition with a dance of mine. Alan and I left there and sat and cried for a while. I think I still get teary when I think about it. It's amazing. And Mayfield Morrison sword doesn't exist anymore, but Straight A's does, because Yonina Gordon learned it and has taken it to Ring a Bells, and Ring a Bells does it in New York. So very satisfying. And to this section. Yeah, that was thing 4. Yeah.
And a great story.
Yeah, isn't it? I love it.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Thing number 5.
Okay.
And besides that.
And besides that, I thought I would tell you some things you may or may not know about me. The first one has to do with all that glass that I was collecting. In 1987, before I went to Pine Woods, Mayfield went to the Marlborough Morris sale. And I was looking around for somebody that lived in the area that I could meet up with when I flew in, and that they could keep me overnight and take me to Pine Woods the next day. And the person I found was George Fogg. And what I didn't know was that George had just co-authored a book about the very kind of glass that I was collecting. He was an expert. And this is the book. Yeah, you can see his name there. And I have added here, this water goblet that's standing there is the same pattern that's pictured on the front of the book. It's called Three Face. So I thought that was kind of fun. And there's a picture of the inside, a page on the inside of the book. And this is a pattern called Elrose. And I'll show you an actual piece of that pattern that comes from the 1890s. There it is. So it was really exciting to me to meet him and learn about all his expertise. He did keep me at his house overnight. In his house were metal shelves of tons and tons of glass. And he talked my ear off about them that night. Just this pattern and that pattern and everything. And whenever a heavy vehicle would go by the house, everything with the glass would go tinkle, 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 tinkle. I thought it was wonderful. I wanted to know more about that glass. It really inspired me. And later, Alan and I became antique dealers in this kind of glass. We did shows all over the country. This one's in Brimfield, Massachusetts. So I got to sit in the middle of all that beautiful stuff and sell it, mostly. And there's this is in Indianapolis. And yes, it got boring sometimes, but it's really lovely. There's you got to meet all the dealers, and all the dealers buy from each other before the show opens. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun, really good time in my life. Second thing you might not know about me is that I cannot sew clothes. I cannot repair clothes. I do not quilt. I don't know how to knit or crochet, but what I do is counted cross stitch, and I do it everywhere. And here is, these kitties are one of the bigger projects that I did. And this is our veterinarian when we were in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. She was a cat-only vet. So I finished that after we left Michigan, and we drove back and gave it to her. She said recently, I think they were having flooding and stuff where she was. And she said, if we were going to have to evacuate, I made sure that we were going to take the cat picture with us. And then there's another one here, which is a dragon. This was for my granddaughter upon high school graduation. Some of you saw this in pieces because I posted, every time I got a page of it done, I posted it on Facebook. I do them for myself and I do them for other people, but other people don't know I'm doing it for them. So until I hand it to them, and whether they want it or not. So that's how that works. And often when I'm watching this very show, I will be sitting in my chair cross-stitching. So that's one thing I do. Another thing you may not know is that I do write dances. I have not written very many, 7 or 8. And some of them are published and some of them are not. The music of the Sierra that you heard at the beginning is one of them, and that is published. we're going to hear another one at the very end. And the tune of that was written by Alisa Dodson. It's called Devon, and I wrote the dance to it. It was written for our wedding, basically, because Devon is an inn on south of Mendocino on Highway 1. And we stayed there on our anniversary and go back there often, actually. I have 2 dances in progress right now, and so we'll see. I can talk more about that later if you want. And I guess, gee, we're getting down to the last thing. If you will excuse me for just a moment, my computer says it's on low battery. I'm going to plug it in. Here we go. I don't think I want to disappear real fast. Come on, you. Okay. All right. So I have some photographs I just kind of found among my, I think Karen said last week, among the memory place. So here they are. This is at the Boston Ball in 2013. We are doing Parsons Farewell, and I love it because Alan is all the way off the ground. And you can see Carol Ansel took this picture. And that's that one. And the next one, this is after a Playford Ball practice at the Sacramento dance. This is my home dance. It's only 2 hours away from me. The Bay Area is 3 hours away from me. And it's made, we go out a lot after the dance. And I think that's such a lovely community thing to do. It is the only dance that I know of where you can dance with 2 people named Alisa, spelled the same way. The back you see that says Joy is Alisa Silver, and that's me sitting next to her. Sometimes we tell people we're twins. So anyway, so the next one, that's Alan Winston and I. This is in Massachusetts. This is sitting on Meg Ryan and Steve Howe's front porch. This is what the home tour, and I'm dancing with Guiding Star, and Bufflehead came to visit us. So that was my old team. So we were sitting there chatting before we were dancing, and I love the photo. And then we have Alan and I and one of Ken McFarland's trips to Italy. This was in 2014. We were going to go to this big ball at the end, and Alan and I are not particularly costume people. We did not have costumes. So Ken knew someone in Florence who was a professional costumer, and we went to her, and this is what she outfitted us in. And we had a lovely time at the ball. And of course we had to give it all back. I'm sorry to say. It was a lot of fun. And then we have one. Some of you will recognize your younger selves here for sure. This is Jean Murrow's class at Early Music Week. I think it was called Musicianship for ECD Leaders. I think that was its name. And so this was the gang that year. And I love this picture. We all look so happy. And a beautiful picture of Long Pond there behind us. So, and I have 2 more pictures. They're both of the same event. And this is the last dance that I called in Amherst before I moved back to California. And I knew that my band was going to be Kate Barnes and Karen Axelrod and Rebecca McCallum. Wow, that's great. But what I didn't know is that Earl Gaddis was going to stroll in and ask if he could play in too. So that was lots of fun. You can see Jean Morrill in the back too. And the other picture is of the floor at that dance. And I love it because of the sense of movement and a memory, yeah, of being there. So that's it.
Well, that was great. Thank you. So we've got a lot of people commenting on all sorts of things. And, you know, it's really interesting what you talk about and what you don't talk about in the tech rehearsals. But in the after talk, we're going to convince Alisa to bring over some of her teacups and show them off.
Oh, okay. All right.
Here we are. You know, who would have thought we would have forgotten that? But first, very important. What's your favorite dance?
My very favorite dance in the world is Nonsuch. I have always loved it. And if I named a modern dance, it would be the Whately Barn. because I love Debbie's music. I love how the dance that Gary wrote fits that music. And I got to dance at the Whately Barn quite a bit. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's really cool. I like that. And well, you have all these teacups. Are you a tea drinker? And what's your favorite kind?
Yeah, I drink tea sometimes, and I love Darjeeling.
Ah,
Yeah.
a
Mhm.
lot of different variants is that.
There are.
When
Mhm.
you come down, we'll have to go out for tea.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, yes. Yes, yes.
Yeah. We're going to post a few, well, one big announcement. Some of you have seen it, but for Alisa, and of something that she's involved in that we're all going to be anxiously awaiting for. So, and for now, I'm just going to say thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us on 5 Things. And I want to give a shout out, thank you to my team, Lindsay Verbal, and in the background, Reed Wilson on Zoom, Larry Hansen on Facebook, along with helpers Dan Vilter and Kara King. We do have an index of past 5 Things web chats, and we're going to post the link for that. You can visit and check out everyone who's been on the show that we've had since March 2020. Oh my God. And I'm not really making the announcement right now, but Graham Christian did say he'd come on for our anniversary show, and he was our first guest. So we're looking forward to that. Didn't expect to mention that, but I think we're getting close enough that I should. And let's see, the web chats are also available on Facebook and on our main page and on our YouTube channel. The after talks are not publicly available. However, you can request a link to one that you might have missed by emailing us at our email address, which we're posting. And a big thank you to everyone who has sent in donations to our group, the Historical Tea and Dance Society. There are operational expenses, so it's really appreciated. And as a bonus, gift, we have this great commemorative pin here, and it's a fundraiser where so there it is, and you saw it on Reed's screen earlier. If you've been a guest on our show, you're going to get one as a gift, but for those folks who would like one, we're posting how you can get one, so please consider that. We know we're not going to be around forever and always because we came together during this time, and we wanted to mark it with something special. So the after talk link is being posted now if it hasn't been posted already. And also for those who don't have access to grabbing or saving the chat, which a lot of people told us they couldn't do it. So we have a Dropbox. So if the one thing you need is that Dropbox, and it's in the email if you registered, or you can just email us and ask for what the link is. So we are trying to take care of everyone. Coming up next week on March 9th, we have Jacqueline Schwab. We're really looking forward to having Jacqueline. Yes, and she is part of Bare Necessities and has performed on Ken Burns documentaries. So there's a lot to hear there. That'll be great. On Wednesday, March 10th, we are having Joanna Reiner back for her part 2 of the Nonprofit Basics Workshop for small dance and music organizations, and it's all about fundraising. That's a really important thing. So make sure you check out the link for that. I am announcing 3rd Saturday this month, we have Paul Hutchinson. I am so excited. Yes, 3rd Saturday, 5 Things web chat. It's at 10 in the morning Pacific, so it is a different time. It is a different day, just once a month so we can talk to our UK and other places around the world friends. So yes, thank you, Paul. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. And let's see, just finally, we do have our tea time on Thursdays. It's a nice social hour, and Alisa comes a lot. So if you don't get all your questions answered in the after talk, then you might want to join us for tea time. And we always do a first Sunday tea social celebration. It's like a community dance. There's lots of things going on. We do a little dancing, we have a little music, have some little tea talks. So yeah, you might want to come this month if you're not doing anything else. We're posting the link to sign up for our mailing list if you haven't yet. And let me now say as we're closing, Alisa recommends viewers donate to the Historical Tea and Dance Society. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Or your local dance group. We need to make sure all these dance groups are staying healthy and they're going to be there when we all come back to dancing. Alisa, you already told us, I think, the story you were going to tell about the closing tune. Did you want to say anything else about it? Yes. Okay, great. We are going. Oh, go ahead.
Can I say one thing though? I just wanted to say, you guys, Darlene, Lindsay, Reed, and Larry, I knew you were amazing when I was watching this, but now having been on it, I know even more you're amazing. Thank you. You do such good work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot to know that our guests are happy. That's for sure. Thank you. So we are going to hear that beautiful Glenn Devon. The composer is Alisa's husband, Alan. The dance is called Glenn Devon. We're posting the credits. This is a private recording. Debbie Jackson made this for us so we could play this beautiful piece of music, but we are going to let you know where you can find this music, the sheet, and the dance. So we will see you all in about 2 minutes in the after talk. Thank you. The link's been posted. Make sure you grab that and join us. It's going to be fun, and we're going to see those teacups.
We're gonna have to go get teacups, aren't we?
I guess I'll have to.
So I can go off.